members, thank you so much for joining us now for this session. I'm joined by Daniel Rouquette. He's the co-founder, managing director of Villa Finder. Villa Finder is a company you may know. It's present across 28 markets in Asia Pacific. So we'll be talking about not only what the company does, but also we'll be providing you insight into what villa markets are in Asia Pacific. You may be a property manager in one of the markets, but thanks to Danielle, you'll be able to hear more about global regional data. Villa Finder has published over the years several reports with data across about the markets. It's been very, very interesting to read, and I'm very happy that Danielle will be sharing a lot about these ones. So what the market is normally like, how it's structured. And then, of course, we'll talk about the impact of COVID-19 on our industry. What we'll be talking about is not only what's going on now in terms of demand. For example, we're talking about Bali, but we'll be talking about things like the consequence of decisions by OTA platforms on staff revenues. I think it's a very concrete topic that Daniel wanted to mention today, and we'll be covering that because I think it's very important. And then we'll be talking as well about how to address recovery, coming up with guidelines, for example, or even changing a bit the way Villa Finder is working. So it's a lot on our plate, but a lot of insight as well. So I'm very happy to welcome you, Daniel. Thank you so much for being here. And first, how are you?
Thank you, Thibaut. I'm doing great. I'm here in Singapore and still confined, but looking forward to the end of this difficult situation.
So it's great to have you here, as I was saying, and obviously Villa Finder is a big company now, and completely full disclaimer because I have to do that. Obviously, I got to know Villa Finder as I have one property in Bali, and I think it's currently registered with Villa Bali, which is one of your brand of subsidiaries. That's how I got to know, of course, the company, and I've seen it grow over the years, which is very, very impressive. But for people who may not know your background or want to know more about the company, can you describe a bit what you do?
Yes, of course. So we are the first villa rental platform in Asia Pacific, specializing in Asia Pacific, of course. We work with about 2,000 villas now that we have selected across those 28 markets. Why I say selected is because we don't work with everybody. We have a very important and precise process of curating properties that we'll be working with. So well done, Thibaut, your villa made the cut. Many of them didn't. Yes, we really believe in curation. We really believe in service as well. So we have a team based in Bali, Indonesia, as well as in Singapore, that will bring a lot of knowledge, expertise to clients, to travelers, looking to find the right villa, but also the right destination. So we really bring this independent view of the market and of the destinations to help travelers find the right place. And on the other end of the spectrum, of course, we also work with villa owners to help them improve the return on their investment. Of course, that's one of the major things, but also give them indications on how the market is doing and sharing all the insights that we have. So at the end of the day, we are an intermediary, like quite a few other players, but we really believe in bringing a lot of value to both parties that we work with. Because if we're an intermediary and we bring no value, of course, we won't stay in business for very long. So that's been a focus of ours for a long, long time.
What's interesting what you just mentioned is bringing value to homeowners and to guests, but what you do as well, you try to bring value to the whole industry. And here I'm thinking about the reports that you've published, and on Rental Scale Up, actually on the blog itself, we've published, I think, at least 2 of these great studies about the market. So even property managers, fellow property managers, can learn a lot about what's going on in different markets, because you have a lot of data, and I love data. And that's why I'm very interested in your market study. So can you maybe again use some of this data to help us understand what the villa markets, what the vacation rental market is like in Asia Pacific?
Yeah, of course. As you said, there is a lot of data out there, but mostly for the US or the European markets, but nothing in Asia Pacific. So it was really just, we did this study for ourselves, first and foremost. We wanted to know what was the market like. And so we, in 2017, we did the first version of this market survey. Spent a lot of time crunching data. There was no AirDNA at the time, so we did a lot of things very, very manually to really try and understand first how many properties are there, what is the average price like per night, what is the average return on investment, what are some of the big markets. So what we found out is a couple of things. So the first one is Bali is the biggest market in Asia Pacific. In terms of the number of villas, in terms of the booking value overall, it's really the one true big destination in Asia. The other big destinations are Phuket and Samui in Thailand. Sri Lanka is a growing destination that we hear a lot about, as well as New Zealand, Australia, and Japan. Recently, Japan has really taken off as a winter destination. So for people going to the north of Japan in particular to ski or snowboard, beautiful place there. And yeah, so those are really the big destinations in Asia. Of course, there are plenty of smaller destinations that might have only 20, 30 properties, but are up and coming, like some islands in the Philippines, or even some small places in Myanmar or Laos. Really a very interesting market, very fragmented, with some very, very big destination like Bali. There are a lot of details in those studies. So we have updated the study recently to also see the changes in the market, which was very interesting. We see really the supply growing very, very fast in some destinations, faster than the demand. So that's always an interesting indicator. So I think there is quite a bit there. So I guess we can share the link to the study later on, and for people to dig in and see what they really find interesting in that.
And yeah, exactly. So we put the link directly to the study in there. And so again, obviously, you mentioned Bali, for example, as the biggest market, but also in supply, for example, probably in revenues, I guess, as well. But also so much so that maybe in terms of supply, there's quite a lot right now. And still, I think a lot of properties that were supposed to being built. So it's probably one of those markets that you were alluding to, where we're on the verge of a supply, maybe.
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, for those people who've been to Bali a couple of times over the past few years, the difference will be very noticeable. Parts of Canggu are very different now from what they were just even 5 years ago, which is great because we see the island developing, which is also, well, sometimes sad because we see a lot of the nice rice paddy that people came for and just disappearing on their villas. But so, yes, we definitely see supply growing very, very, very fast in Bali, probably an oversupply. The prices of rentals that used to go up pretty much every year are now flat or even decreasing. And this really reflects the new supply that came in the market. We see also occupancy rates going down. However, and that's where I think it's very important for property managers and villa owners to be smart. You can still have great returns. You can still get great occupancy, not at the expense of lowering your price. Really keep great occupancy with decent rates by understanding what makes your villa unique, what are people looking for, and finding other ways to differentiate yourself from the market, not just giving discounts and the likes, because this destroys value overall.
So that's, again, it's all this data we talked about, like even the oversupply, the hint is because we link in the report, because the report not just has the data, but also this analysis, which is very, very interesting. Mm-hmm. Another key point, maybe for people who may not know the market, maybe there's people from the US or people from Europe. watching. So it's really a market where the properties, the suppliers, we say, but they call them properties, are owned by investors. Right? I think it's probably something a bit different. So what are the profiles of people, of homeowners you deal with?
Yes, so as you say, a lot of investors. We don't really have here some homes that have been in the family for 2 or 3 or longer, 2, 3 generations. It's really those houses that have been built for a purpose, which is investment. Of course, some of the owners have different expectations. Some of them really built a property for themselves, for their own holidays in the region. But really, the main profile are those people who are looking for a return on their investment. So those are people living in the region. They may be expats living in Singapore, in Hong Kong. They may be locals, so Singaporeans or Chinese or Australians, of course, and even people from Jakarta. We see more and more of those wealthy Indonesian people buying properties and building properties in Bali. But the situation is very similar in the rest of the markets of Asia Pacific. With the locals taking more and more of a share of the ownership of the properties, which is very interesting. So I think it's a slightly different market and mindset here, because people are really looking for a return on their investment. So their approach to the market is really a business focused, I would say. So again, that's where by bringing them a clear understanding of the value that we can bring, dealing with inquiries, helping them do a better job at marketing their property, they really understand our value on the market. Whereas maybe some homeowners in Europe have a slightly different approach. They are happy to get just a couple of weeks rented every year to cover some of the costs and just come the rest of the time. Because they're only renting for a couple of weeks, they're happy to take care of the inquiries themselves, because at the end of the day, that a couple of weeks rented is just a few inquiries to handle. Here, when you're renting in destination like the ones that we evolve in, where it's pretty much year round. There is a high season in Bali, but it's even the low season still sees a lot of tourists. So the properties are really rented year round. So there's a lot of work. So those professional investors who have their own a job on the side don't want to be spending 2-3 hours every single day answering inquiries of people. So a very different different profile here of homeowners, I believe.
So Daniel, talk about the homeowners, and how about the clients? Who are the clients? Maybe generally speaking of the villa format, but also maybe across markets. Any differences here?
So the travelers here are, I think, because of the type of property that we work with. Of course, they're families, they're groups, people who travel together to enjoy a place where they will find privacy, where they will find some service as well, which is really important in the Southeast Asian and Asian context in general. There's a lot of service in the villas, which is probably a big difference in terms of the type of properties from what we will find in the rest of the world. And which brings actually an amazing value to the properties when we think about it. Just the fact to have people who will every single day clean the villa, prepare your breakfast, help you booking a taxi, or you can have amazing services like a yoga teacher coming to your villa, or a private chef coming to you and who will buy all the groceries and do your dinner. When you're a family, that's really something you value, because you want to be able to spend more time with your kids and your loved ones. So yes, our clients are coming from all over the world. A lot of them, of course, from Australia, because Australians love Bali and they love traveling in the region. So a lot of Australians, but of course, a lot of people living in the region from Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Taiwan, all over, really all over. We have European travelers coming usually over the summer month in Europe. So a little bit more seasonal. They tend to stay longer, which is quite interesting for us. But yeah, it's really a diverse crowd here, and that's what you will see. I think when you come to any of those destinations, you will see people from all over the world, really.
So that's a broad picture of the market. And thanks again. I know you are in 28 markets, so it's pretty impressive. But so you're all over the region, but so something that also has happened all over the region, actually across the world, is this COVID-19 crisis. How is it like now? And any demand right now? What's the demand like at the moment?
Well, yeah, I won't lie, it's very, very slow. Most of the demand that we have are for people who are stuck in one of those destinations, Bali, Phuket, people who decided to just stay for the time being there. So this demand is nothing that anyone will get rich from. Those are monthly rental for the cost of a couple of nights or not even a week of the usual price that the villas go for. So it's very it's very, very slow. So we don't see really much signs of recovery yet. We are getting a couple of bookings for next year already. We have people who are very confident in the market, just like we are, that of course this will pass, like many other crises that we have had in the travel industry. People will come back. But it hasn't come back yet. So for now, it's mostly people stuck in those destinations looking for a Corona deal, as they call it, to be able to stay in a beautiful villa for a fraction of the price. It's something that I would love to enjoy as well if I was in Bali at the moment and not in Singapore.
So that's with the reality of things at the moment. And speaking of reality as well, is that let's talk a moment about the staff, because as you mentioned earlier, these properties are able to provide great service, and which service is oftentimes enabled by staff, and staff oftentimes actually who's attached to the villa. Even if you're a property manager in Australia, you've probably been to Bali and you've probably been experienced this level of staff. And as you mentioned, it's not like daily cleaning, but usually the staff, hangs out the whole day at the property, right? They have sometimes staff quarters, more or less nice, but they're usually there here at will. So you can imagine that there's been a big impact. So let's try to talk something is very important to explain, is the impact maybe of the whole massive cancellations and refunds. So what has been the impact on the staff, for example, in places like Bali?
Yes, absolutely. It's really the saddest part, I think, about this whole crisis is the impact on staff and the impact of decisions like Airbnb's unilateral decision to refund every single client, which is that they didn't take into account situations like the one that we have in Asia, where a lot of the times the staff depend on revenues from travelers to be able to survive. Those staff are paid a little bit every single month, but when they are guests coming to the villa, they get extra. And so right now, those staff are losing all this revenue. Of course, people in their own families, because most of those destinations are very dependent on tourism. A lot of people are losing their jobs. So we're really talking of people who are losing their ways of their income and their ways of surviving here. So if the situation lasts for really long, it's going to be very, very difficult, especially because here in many of those markets, there's no support from the government. You don't have unemployment benefits for those people who lose their job. They are left the next day with nothing. So it's really difficult decisions, which means that in our destination, refund is definitely not the rule. Refund is the exception. We offer mostly postponement for clients for usually up to a year, which is very generous, of course, from owners to accept. And it's really a reality that I think makes sense here in Asia. When you are in Europe and you have an apartment, if the apartment is not rented, well, you don't have much expense. Maybe you have a loan to repay, of course, that's important. But here, on top of that loan that you might have to repay, you have 10 staff who would depend on this income for their day-to-day. So it's a very big impact on them, of course. and a tragic situation if it lasts much longer.
So, if I'm not mistaken, on Villa Finder, you also get direct bookings, obviously, right? Because you are a platform as well. And in another session with Quirin from Made Comfy in Australia, we talked how he switched his strategy from having the demand all coming from the OTAs, and by having his own platform, they launched their own direct booking platform. So that's probably something that happened with you, right? You have obviously had more control on the refund and cancellation policies when they are direct bookings. Is it something that happened as well?
Absolutely, absolutely. So fortunately, we have a lot more control over this. However, when you have a big name in the industry that set the standards in a way, it's very difficult for us to sometimes explain to clients why we are operating differently. So it's fortunate, I guess, in our case, that we were able to go about this differently because we have mostly direct bookings. But yeah, overall, it casted it was a difficult situation for everyone and for travelers to understand, of course.
So speaking of like new standards that people have in mind, well, the big one is obviously the whole like topic, which is like cleanliness now is safety. It's obviously a big topic, and we've seen platforms, we've seen associations in different countries publishing their own guidelines. So what do you think of these different guidelines, and what is Villa Finder doing about it?
So yeah, there's some really good guidelines that have been published more or less all over the world. Once again, not that much in Asia. So we have decided to adapt those guidelines to the Asian markets. So we have released a series of recommendations, and also just a page that lists a lot of resources for villa owners in our destinations to understand some simple things like where to find hand washing gel, or where to buy mask for the villa, so the local suppliers, but also simple videos in local language like Indonesian, Thai, on how to clean the villa. I mean, the specific aspects of cleaning the villa in this situation. So yeah, we've published all those guidelines. I invite everyone to go and have a look. I hope it's relevant. And we are doing our best to keep it updated with more resource that we find out there. So this will keep on improving. And yeah, it's published on the Villa Finder website. And we do hope that owners will be able to take us on some of those best practice. I'm confident they will. Villas are great. Are much better than hotels in this situation, I would say. In a hotel, of course, you are sharing a lot of facilities with hundreds of strangers. It's the lift, it's the swimming pool, it's all those things. So in a villa, you are in a much more controlled environment. Of course, you have you are only together with your family, with the people that you're traveling with. You have a staff who's there to really take care of you, and who can clean on a regular basis the villa. So you're in a much more controlled environment. So I do believe that moving forward, villas are a great solution when it comes to the post-COVID world.
Yeah, I agree as well with you, Daniel, because people talk about having to be in your own bubble, and what I love with villas, it is your own bubble, and especially if you have trust in the cleaning guidelines, or the way things are done in the property, it's even better. And usually the cleaner is the same, the staff is the same from one day to another. It also helps create this trust and with the staff.
Absolutely, and bond as well with the staff, which is something that our clients love, right? Of course, you have the same staff who comes day after day. They start to know you very quickly. They know your name. They know what you like for breakfast. They know what time you wake up in the morning, so you can have your breakfast at whatever time you want. This is really great, and this is what makes villas in the region so special and so unique. Of course, this unique experience that you get. And this is not going to change, obviously, in the future. It's only going to get better.
To finish off, because I'd love to talk about something else. I have properties in Bali, but also in the Caribbean, which enable me to meet different people, and one of them is this company called Wimco, which is a big name in all the villa rental, especially in the Caribbean. And talking with the CEO Tim Robertson, we talked about one day how basically they've also opened Europe as a market for them, because their base of American clients going to Caribbean also could go in the summer to Europe, and summer is low season in Caribbean, high in Europe. So it really helped them have a better let's say stream of revenues across the year. And obviously we have hurricanes in Europe, in the Caribbean, so it also helps in the downturn. What are your thoughts about this kind of strategy, and is it something you would be considering?
Yeah, I think it's very smart, of course, to diversify your source of revenue. And offering more destination is one of those ways. It's something that our clients have been asking us for a very long time. So as you mentioned, you knew us from our Bali activity, because this is where we started first. 8 years ago, we started in Bali because we loved the destination, because we knew it was one of the largest in the region, but we always knew that we wanted to go beyond. So now we cover 28 markets. And on the long run, we definitely want to make a move outside of Asia Pacific. So the current situation is helping us, I will say, accelerate this move. And we are on the verge of launching some destinations in Europe, in Spain, in Italy, in the south of France, and more to come, of course, because we do believe, of course, that travel is going to recover first locally. So we want to be present with a great offering for our clients who are in Europe and were not comfortable just yet to travel all the way to Asia, because maybe it's too expensive for them. So we want to have something to offer to them, the same standard of quality and the same amazing experience in Europe, and in the future, the Caribbean as well, and the rest of the world.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. It's a lot of insight, and I hope this plan goes well. I'm sure it will, because you've been able to expand from 1 to 28 markets. So I think you have the ability to scale.
We have an amazing team, and I have no doubts that they will be able to execute this, of course. Yeah.
Daniel Rouquette, you're the co-founder, again, and managing director of Villa Finder. Thank you so much for your time today. And as you mentioned, we'll link under the video to the data reports as well, or to the cleaning guidelines. If people want to reach out and maybe know more or talk with you, their homeowners or fellow property managers, what's the best way to reach out?
I think they can find me, of course, on LinkedIn. They can find me through the website, villafinder.com. So you can just email me at daniel@villa-finder.com. I'm also available on Twitter if some people prefer this medium. So yeah, don't hesitate. Happy to share my insight and understanding of the market, and help homeowners all over the world get the most out of their villa and offer an amazing experience for travelers.
All right. Once again, thanks for your insights, and I wish you a great day, Daniel.
Thank you, Thibaut. You too.